Hey guys, welcome to Practically Famous. I'm Brad, your host.
And I'm Jake, your co-host.
So yeah, we realized on the first two episodes that we did not introduce ourselves. And also, we didn't actually have a name for the podcast when we recorded the first two episodes. The name actually came later. We were batting around some ideas, but we just wanted to take action on getting that first episode recorded while it was a good idea in our heads and it was still exciting to us. Because a lot of the times people will delay action until everything is perfect.
Yeah, and I think that was the exact right move for us then, was just to take action, record 2 episodes, see how excited that made us, and now we can continuously improve on each episode.
Yeah, and we didn't even mean to record 2 episodes. We meant to record one.
Right, and we turned the cameras off, and then we just kept talking.
Yeah, that's why we're wearing the same clothes in both of our first 2 episodes, is because we turned the camera off after our first episode. We started talking, and like 5 minutes later, Jake's like, do we need to turn this back on?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we probably do. So we just hit record. So what you guys are hearing here is literally just conversations that we're always having. These are normal conversations. Nothing here is scripted. What me and Jake do is we like to go out and socialize, talk to girls, meet cool dudes to add to our social circle. And after we go out, we just have conversations where we talk about life and game and how our night went and what we're learning, any struggles we went through, celebrating all the positive things that we did. So what you're getting here is just very real, raw conversations. Like you're just hanging out with us. This is what we do.
And that's what we want this podcast to be. We want this to be real, raw, authentic. We want this to really show the experiences that we've been going through and how we're transforming and how we've transformed to get to this place.
Yeah. And that is going to include, very vulnerable admissions on our part of things that we struggle with. And that's actually one of the things that inspired me to start this, is the rawness of our conversations, just knowing that there's obviously got to be so many other guys who are going through these exact same emotional minefields that we're going through as they try to improve their lives.
Yeah. And I think most other men don't have even another man to talk to about this, or anybody at all. They have to, they go back to their home and they're just alone with their thoughts. And we both know how much you can spiral when you're just by yourself with your own thoughts and you have no ability to have perspective on, the situations or what it is that you're going through.
Exactly. And I think, like you said, they're alone. So a lot of the times I feel like the way men cope with that is through things like YouTube, right? Like, oh, how can I figure out how to solve my problems? Let me watch some personal development stuff. And to a degree, that's what we're doing here, is maybe giving you an outlet for that. What I feel like we're doing different is we're not just saying, hey, look at us, we're amazing, this is what you should do. We're saying, like, no, we go through this exact same shit too.
Yeah, this is the real process. This is what it actually looks like to personally transform, to go out, to improve your social skills, to improve your dating life and all the ups and downs that come with that, and all the multifaceted avenues that you have to go down to really become like a full man, to become a full version of who you are. So it goes beyond just dating. It goes beyond just social skills, right? How do you actually feel about who you are? It makes a huge impact in how you show up in front of women.
Yeah, like you said, it's so multifaceted. I wish that, online marketing, the way to get customers is to tell them, hey, do this one thing and you'll be good. But you guys have no idea the amount of different things that we do in our lives to improve ourselves. We attack our lives from every single angle, and it's not easy. And when you feel like you're getting one thing well, you realize some other part of you is not caught up to that. So then you got to deal with that. And you just keep going through this cycle and this process over and over and over again, where you build yourself up and improve yourself from every different angle.
I'm truly feeling the impact that's finally having for me. Like I'm starting to see myself in a new light as a result of being all in on the process of improving myself, right? So improving all the facets and finally seeing that I am competent, I am confident, I can talk to people, I can talk to girls, I can be an amazing leader. And it's taken me time to get here, but all the work, all the different areas that I've worked on is totally worth it.
100%. And this podcast is a part of that journey.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. It was scary for us to start this. We're not podcasters. We just decided that this would be fun and this would be a new way to challenge ourselves and an ability to help other guys out as well. But really, this is just it's just us being vulnerable and practicing that vulnerability, which is also going to play into our own personal development, how we show up, how we date, how we talk to girls. So everything is connected.
Interconnected. I 100% agree. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yep.
That applies a lot to, in general, just improving your life, but specifically, what the goals that we've been working towards. So being a confident man, being charismatic, and, we'll get into that. To be charismatic, you need to set up the rest of your life in a way that supports your ability to be charismatic when you're in those situations.
Yeah. 100%. Also, I want to address the name of our podcast, Practically Famous. Why did we decide to call it that? What does that have to do with dating?
Because we're practically famous.
Hey, right? So the idea came from, the way that we have learned our social skills and we go out and we talk to people. We've experienced a lot of coaching in our past, people who have helped us upgrade our fashion game and the way we look, the way we carry ourselves, the way we speak. So when we go out, we kind of walk and talk and act with this energy like we are celebrities. So the way we dress, we wear a lot of streetwear, a lot of jewelry, oversized clothes, sunglasses. We don't have them on right now, but we're usually wearing sunglasses if you see us out. And when you kind of embody that energy, you get a lot of attention. And people are like, who are these guys? People want to get to know you. So you don't always have to think of yourself as, I'm always going to cold approach. You want to be the kind of person who is drawing positive attention to themselves and that people are curious about. Every time we go out, people ask us if we're celebrities or if we're influencers or something.
Yeah.
So this podcast is almost like, it's almost become just a manifestation of the way we behave when we're out. It's like everyone assumes we're influencers and then we get the idea to start a podcast. So we're on our way basically.
Right. Yeah.
And it was never the original intention. It's just kind of a natural progression.
I think it's good too. Like this podcast is really going to show how we went from not being in that state, not being in that vibe, to now being able to go to places and carry that vibe with us and really show up with super positive, strong energy that does gain that positive attention that you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what it really is at the end of the day. It's an energy. So you walk into the bar, you're standing tall, you're dressed amazing.
You're feeling good.
You're feeling really good. You feel like a celebrity, right?
You feel like a celebrity.
You don't have to actually be famous, right? It's practically famous. You don't have to actually be famous. You have to walk like you are. And you need to be famous in your own mind. I think that's really like the core of it. When you're walking around, you should be like, yeah, I'm the man.
Yeah.
I'm famous with myself because I've accomplished all these other things, like you were saying, getting every part of your life good so that you can feel proud of yourself. You should be famous to yourself.
Yeah. I truly believe that at the core, we all have the amazing gift of being able to show up as our full selves, right? To be able to show up, radiantly. And it comes through, like we said, the multifacetedness of aligning with your true self, aligning with your purpose, and letting go of what it is that holds you back, what causes tension inside of you, so that you can show up truly free, truly embodied. And then when you do that, you can radiate that positive, almost famous energy. It's a gift. It's a gift that we all have.
Yeah, anyone can achieve it. If you feel good about yourself, your energy is going to be high. We talked about state in the first episode. That's all it is. It's about learning to be in a positive, energetically giving state.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties into what we really want to talk about tonight, which is being captivating. We live in the attention economy. Attention is the most valuable resource we have. It's more valuable than money, right? Because attention leads to money.
Yeah, I think money follows attention.
Exactly. Let's say you're out at a bar or a club. There's so much stimulation going on. There's loud music. There's crazy lights. There's drinks. There's alcohol. There's tons of people. How are you going to stand out enough to get a girl's attention to where she's actually interested in you, right? What is it about you that's going to captivate her long enough to pay attention to you, to actually want to know, who is this guy? Because there's hundreds of guys out and there's thousands/millions of guys trying to get at her online.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to be the one guy that stands out. So how do you captivate a girl's attention? This is a big part of what we've been working on lately to go out. And like I said, when you have that celebrity energy, that's a big part of it.
So ultimately, it's how do you be captivating?
Yeah.
Number one is definitely feel good. Just feel good. You know, when I used to go out into a club, to a festival, whatever it was, I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling very nervous, very closed off. Really, like my mind, my body wanted to be as energetically small as possible. I didn't want to be seen.
What do you think that feeling is of not wanting to be seen?
It's shame.
Yeah, to me that's what I believe shame is. It's like the desire to not be seen.
Yeah. I mean, I think I fundamentally thought that there was something wrong with me and that if people saw who I am at all, they would only see that. And so I wanted nothing more than to be away from people's attention, which in and itself was like I could manage, right? I just lived my life like that. I was just a quiet kid, quiet person, didn't really push myself to go out and socially interact. And I made by. I lived that life without a flourishing social life.
Yeah, because I think, shame, not wanting to be seen because you think on some level, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you don't want to be seen, because you're afraid. Really, I think you're just afraid of getting that confirmed. It's like a level deeper than I don't want people to see me. It's like, I don't want people to see me because if they see me and they say I'm not good enough, then it confirms what I'm already afraid is true.
Exactly right.
Right. So if you can hide in your room or in your house or apartment and you don't have to interact with people, you don't have to get feedback from people, then you feel safe. But really, over the long run, you're just going to feel worse and worse and worse because you're going to be isolated from human connection, or you're only going to have human connection with your family and maybe one or two friends or something like that.
Yeah, for me, I went through my life and I saw that people were really living, right? Really going out, really giving it their all, really being willing to be seen. And I just saw how much I was missing out on. And I knew that's not how I wanted my story to go. I want to live my life to the fullest, right? I want to have all the experiences of life. I want to date amazing women. I want to have an amazing social circles. I want to go to festivals and make memories that I never would have because I was scared at home before.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think if you asked anyone, if I could take away all the negative emotions surrounding it, would you want to be going out all the time and making friends all the time and meeting cool girls all the time if you knew it was going to always work out? And I think everyone who's being honest with themselves would say, yeah, of course, because human connection is one of the most important things in the world.
Yeah.
Right? After your basic survival needs, it's like one of the next ones.
Yeah. And even if that's not the way that I live my life for the rest of my life, to go out and to have those experiences for some amount of time, just to feel complete, feel whole, that I did have those experiences. Now I can go and set up my life how I truly want it. But if there was no chance of it going wrong, of course I would try it.
Yeah. And so that's what we've had to go through. Is the thing is, when you start trying this stuff, it doesn't work like that at first. You're going to start going out and you will have to be emotionally strong enough to fight back those feelings of like, oh, look, it's true. I am not good enough. Because it could take weeks, could even take months sometimes before you really get to a point where you're feeling very comfortable talking to people. And until then, you just have to have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And just tell yourself, I can do this. I can do this. I can get better. I can get better. Which is why we've learned lots of tactics to make that process more enjoyable rather than just spinning your wheels. It's like, okay, how do we systematize this? How do I work on one thing at a time? How do I set small, achievable goals? How do I practice self-care to take care of myself on the moments that are hard? Because there's a lot of moments that are really hard.
Yeah. And I like what you said. How do I systematize this? Because I think that's a key aspect of this process for me is how do I continuously make progress? Because you can push yourself really hard. And if it's not the right amount of pushing for you at the time, you may actually go backwards, right? So how do I know how to take the next step and then the next step and then the next step and understand that this is a process? You're going to go out, you're going to step into tension, all this negative mindset is going to be, all of your negative belief systems are going to be highlighted as a result of that. And then you're going to have to take the time to step back and deal with those negative mindsets, those negative programs, and then go and do it again. But then this time you have less that's holding you back. And so you can go a little farther and a little farther and a little farther.
Definitely. You mentioned the first step of being captivating is feeling good. Why is just feeling good? Why is that in itself captivating?
That's a really good question. I am a true believer that, what do they say, 80% of communication is subconscious?
Yeah, so 80 to 90% of communication is nonverbal, at least.
Let's fact check that.
While often cited as 93%, research suggests that a significant portion, possibly around 70% of communication, is nonverbal.
So ultimately, 70% nonverbal. At the core of it, I think that people feel how you feel. If you feel good, people feel good too. Like you walk up to somebody and you're genuinely feeling good, they almost can't help but feel better.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that people remember you by how you make them feel, not by what you say or anything else. It's all about how do they feel around you, right?
Yeah.
Think about those people that you meet, right? And they're just like, oh, that guy was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I loved hanging around that guy. That's the energy that we start to embody. And when you start to embody that and you go out and you interact, people can't help but be positive back to you.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. I feel like that is a fundamental law of game or attraction or dating, whatever we want to call it, is that whatever you feel, she feels.
Yep.
I know this one is that we have neurons in our brain called mirror neurons. Mm-hmm. And they are designed for like social skills and being in social settings to mirror what the person you are talking to is also going through.
Yeah.
For example, if you walk up to someone and they're crying, you're not going to walk up to them with some totally random, inappropriate emotion. You're going to start to mirror them. Not that you're going to start crying, but you're going to start to feel what they're feeling, right? You're going to have empathy for what's going on with them, right? If someone walks up to you and they're just super happy and they're super pumped up and they're super excited, you won't be able to help but feel some level of their excitement, some level of their enthusiasm, some level of their passion. And that's why when so many guys go out and they're afraid and they're nervous and you start talking to a girl, she becomes afraid and nervous now because she's like, what is going on here?
This feels so weird.
This person is clearly scared of something. Should I be scared of something? What's going on?
That's not conducive to attraction.
No. And so a lot of getting good at this stuff is just about becoming very comfortable with yourself, becoming very comfortable in social settings, which just requires you to be in social settings a lot.
Yeah. You have to be in social settings a lot, and you have to, so I call it stepping into tension. So my definition of tension is anything that requires action, discipline, or structure. So for instance, walking up and talking to a girl, it's a lot of fucking tension. But you have to train your nervous system to be able to step into that tension without being so tight, energetically tight, to be able to feel, to be able to relax, to be able to ground yourself, and then walk up to a girl. If you do that and you stay in that state, she will feel so much better. She's like, wow, this guy I feel amazing because he's calm and relaxed, and yet he can still step into tension.
Yeah, if you're calm and relaxed, she's going to feel calm and relaxed, right? Now, if you are, I have used this with a lot of success in the past. If you are just feeling so nervous and so tense and you just can't help it, right? You can't just ground yourself. Just tell that to the girl.
Sure.
Just be like, hey, I'm really nervous right now, but I just thought you were cute and I really wanted to meet you. That will help her to feel more comfortable because she's not going to think, why is this guy so scared? She's going to know like, oh, he's nervous because he's talking to me and he thinks I'm pretty. She might feel a little flattered. Is it the most attractive way to pick up a girl? Probably not, but it's better than pretending like it's not there and just trying to get past it and like, I hope she doesn't notice because she's going to notice.
She's going to notice. I view that as lessening the tension, which is it's a good thing in certain situations, right? You can only step into the amount of tension that your nervous system is ready for. And so if you're stepping into that and you can't relax yourself, it's because it's too much tension for where you're at, which is okay, right? You bring the tension down by verbally expressing, hey, I'm nervous right now. And then it kind of equalizes the situation, which is good because it does train you to get exposure to tension, right? You have to increase your capacity for tension by stepping into it. So I think that lessening the tension to give yourself the opportunity to increase your capacity is definitely a really good thing to do. And eventually you can start to walk up to girls and say, hey, like, I had to come over here. You are looking so fine in that dress right now. And then you won't have to decrease the tension. You can hold the tension and you can really start to trigger the attraction then because you're calm and relaxed in that tension.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Tension is actually what causes attraction.
100%.
And the thing is, you want her to feel the tension though, not you. You need to be holding the tension. So when you approach a girl for a romantic purpose, that is an active tension in itself, no matter how confident you are, because you are creating a tense situation between the two of you. So as a man, if you can really hold that tension, really stay grounded, really stay confident, she's now going to have to be the one that holds all that tension. And you'll know that you're starting to get better at this when you notice that she starts to fidget, giggle, laugh, play with her hair, get nervous. When you see her getting nervous, that's when you know you're causing more attraction, right? You're going to see her get more into her feminine energy. She might get more bubbly, more giggly, because you are holding tension, which is a very masculine trait, and that inspires in her to respond in a feminine way.
I think that when women see men step into tension in an embodied way, I'll say, with grounding, with relaxation, with feeling, it turns them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there is the right amount of tension.
Sure.
Yes, tension is good, but you don't want to just put like as much tension on the girl as you can all at once.
Right.
You come up with some tension, and then you modulate based on how she reacts.
Yeah. Over time, the better you get at this, the more you'll be able to control tension.
Exactly.
It's something that you can like energetically control. And that's still things that we're still working on, obviously. But one area I've been really improving on that lately is just with my eye contact.
Yeah.
Eye contact is one of the best ways to create tension. And I've been very consciously focusing on every time I walk past a girl, no matter where I'm at, I really try to hold some eye contact with her. And what I've been noticing is that a lot of the times a girl will smile at me, or she'll fidget, or she'll do something kind of like feminine in response to what I'm doing, just looking at her. And I'm looking at her obviously with confidence. I'm looking at her with like a little bit of swagger, a little bit of that like, I like that girl, So obviously I could stare her in the eyes like super creepy, and that wouldn't get her to have a feminine response. Yeah. That would give her a runaway kind of response.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely a balance of tension and comfort, I think. When you're interacting with women, if you're totally on the comfort side, they're just going to look at you as a friend. And if you're totally on the tension side, they're going to get scared.
Yeah.
You have to balance the tension with the comfort and play back and forth. And even like throughout the night, like if you meet a girl, like you're at a bar, you go up and you talk to a girl, just going up and talking to her is a form of tension. But then you're in a conversation, right? And things kind of normalize and there's less tension and you increase the comfort. And you're talking to her for a while, and then you increase the tension. You give her a compliment. You say, "Man, this whole time that we've been talking, I just can't keep my eyes off of your dress." It's just something like that, right?
Sure.
You increase the tension. So throughout the night, you're constantly balancing, increasing the tension, increasing the sexual tension, and making sure that she's still comfortable, right? To find that sweet spot.
Yeah, and I think the sweet spot, the way I was taught it, was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So you want to up the tension, then up the tension a little more until you can kind of feel it's getting intense, and then pull back.
Yeah.
Then release the tension.
Yeah. And when you become more comfortable in a social situation, your intuition gets a lot better, and you can feel when it's too much, and you know when to back off, and you know when to move forward. And that takes time to develop. But like you said, just getting out and talking to people at all really helps you to become more relaxed, become more able to attune to people and other people's comfort level, and when to push forward, when to not push forward type of thing. So it definitely is a process of learning to step into tension, but also learning to bring awareness into the practice of going out and talking to people.
And it can take a while to get your nervous system to calm down when you're in those situations.
Yeah. I think too, like sometimes you have to just keep pushing, not for other people, but for yourself, right? You have to push yourself until you break whatever that program is that's making you feel nervous. And then you literally have a breakdown in the middle of the club.
We've all been there.
Yeah. But that, for me, like some of the most transformative moments have been when I've like had to force myself to do the things that I was so afraid to do. And it like boiled to the surface. And then I emoted. I cried. And I let that out. And then part of me was healed because I did that.
I remember I think this is maybe the very first time I ever went out. I drove out like to the area I was going to go out. I couldn't even get out of my car.
Yeah.
I literally had a breakdown in my car, just cried for like 20 minutes in there, and then just drove home. It was, it sounds so pathetic, but that's where I was.
That's what you needed.
That was my very first time I ever tried to go out. That's the level of social anxiety I was at. That's the level of confidence I was at the time. And then I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. But the next time I went out, I actually got out of the car.
Yeah.
And I met up with some friends, which is a big help, by the way. If you have someone to go out with, it's a huge help. It's not a requirement. And there's so many benefits to going out alone. And you will grow probably faster if you go out alone. But it's easier if you have a buddy, right? If you have an emotional support friend to go out with, or a group or something, you can feel a lot more comfortable right off the bat.
Totally agree. I think it's not absolutely necessary to have somebody to go out with, but I do think it's absolutely necessary to have some system in place to help you to deal with the stuff that comes up internally, right? The shame, the fear, the stuff that makes you break down and cry, that you do need a support system there. And this process is so interlinked with the process of learning to deal with your shit inside that you have so much benefit from having that support system.
It's easy to get caught up in the glamour. It's like, I want to do this because I want to bang hot girls, and I want a hot wife or a hot girlfriend. I want to be cool. I want to be popular. But it's deeper. It's like the why do you want all that, right? Why do you want all that? Because deep down you feel shame, you feel fear, you feel grief, you feel all these negative emotions about yourself. So the end results, like those things are cool. The glamour is cool, but it's not really what you're after. Like you said, like what you're after is fixing all this internal stuff, which is why you have to be constantly monitoring your internals as you go. Mm-hmm. If this was as easy a skill to learn as like what's a super just technical skill that doesn't require a lot of inner work?
Coding,
right? Computer programmers don't have to sit down and deal with their internal shame before they learn how to code. So if learning game was as easy as learning code, not to say that code is easy, but you can learn it without dealing with all the internal shit, I feel like every guy would just be amazing at it.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. They would have you just watch some videos online, and then you would have to not practice at all, and you could go out and do it.
Yeah. And some guys do. They watch tons of videos online, and they build it up in their heads like, I can do that. I can walk up to a girl and just start talking to her. But then you try to do it in person, and the internals start screaming. Your nervous system is firing. Your cortisol is running through your veins, and
you can't even open your mouth.
You can't open your mouth. Yeah. You're so tense. Your breathing is hard, and maybe to the point that you just break down and cry.
Yeah. My experience in this space of personal development, and specifically to dating, I think it's very common that guys, if you really start to put effort into this, you realize that this process really isn't about the women.
Oh, for sure.
It's not.
I learned that real quick.
Yeah, it's really not, because you really have to look at all of you and say, I got to deal with this shit.
Yeah. I just want to feel comfortable with myself. Yeah. Really, that's kind of at the core of myself. I want to feel comfortable with myself. I just want to be able to walk into a room and just express myself to people. Mm-hmm. Sounds like such a simple thing, but that's always been so difficult for me. I've always been so worried. What are people going to think about me? Is this girl going to like me? What does it mean if she doesn't like me? Yeah. Right? And then, you start going out looking for the glamour, I'm going to get the girls. And you realize man, I don't even care about girls anymore.
Yeah. You told your story about how you drove, you went out, you drove out, you got there and you just cried and then had to go home. That's where you were at. I remember, so we're in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
Great place to be, by the way. Amazing experiences here.
Quick background. I've been here for about 6 months now.
I've been here for a year and 2 months, give or take.
this is still kind of a new city for us. I mean, you've been here over a year. I've been here 6 months. That is kind of part of our thing about with this podcast is like, this is how we're building a social life and a dating life in a new city, right? Because I've been on this dating journey for several years now. And I was back in California before, and I had a lot of experience and gained a lot of success. But when I got here, my whole life just was so dramatically different, and it was just such a dramatic change that I had to kind of start going on a new journey of building it from scratch. So I thought this was just a perfect opportunity to talk to guys and tell them like, this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I've been on this journey I'm 27, and I started really when I was about 24, so 3 years. But honestly, for the first 2 years, I really didn't make a lot of progress. I was mostly just like wallowing in my shame for 2 years, So that was difficult.
That's how it be sometimes.
That's how it be sometimes. And I needed to go through that. I learned some of the most profound lessons in that place.
Yeah. I had to relook at all my shame when I moved. All this stuff, it stirs up all the things that are inside of you. And you have to be courageous enough to look at it. That's one of the hardest things I feel like is we spend so much of our lives trying to avoid it and distract ourselves. And we all do this. We have everything we need to do this. We have all the TV we need, all the junk food we need. We got weed, alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever, right? Anything to distract us from feeling this way, right? Feeling sad or feeling feelings of shame bubble up to the surface. But it's your ability to look at that and confront it that's actually going to make all the difference in your ability to grow and to change. And so, yeah, just to get a little more into even my background as well, I was engaged last year, and I ended up breaking it off 2 weeks before the wedding day because I just started to realize that I was living a life that was like deeply inauthentic to me. And so I broke up with her, and then I went a little crazy. I sold my house. I quit my job. I moved from California to Arizona. And for the first 2 months after we broke up, it was kind of glamorous. It felt so cool. Like I was doing all this crazy shit. People were always like, "Oh my God, Brad, can't believe you're doing this." And then after a couple months, when I finally got really, really settled and everything just started to hit me, and I went through a full-blown ego death, dark night of the soul, which if you guys don't know what that is essentially an identity crisis, right? Where I didn't know who I was anymore. And I'd left things behind. I lived in California my whole entire life. I'm 36 now. And my job, I'd been there for 11 years. I owned a home in California. I had this beautiful, gorgeous fiancée who on paper was just perfect and what every guy would maybe think they want in a girl. And that kind of sidetracked me because on paper she was perfect. But the actual relationship, who I was actually becoming, the path I was headed down felt so inauthentic to me. And I almost I couldn't even articulate that at the time. I just knew something was wrong. I knew something was really, really wrong because I was having like borderline panic attacks. And I finally figured out that like, I'm just not living life the way that I should be living. And so I called off the wedding. And I think a lot of guys think that, especially if you ever experienced heartbreak before, you always think that like, oh, if you're the one that breaks up with her, it's not as hard. But in a weird way, like it's almost harder because in both scenarios, you go through a lot of grief because you have to mourn the relationship. But when you get broken up with, there's no like, did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
And that,
you have to carry the weight of responsibility.
Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
I had to deal with that for so long. Like I said, it would have been easy if she was like just a terrible person and I hated her or something, but I didn't. She was, like I said, she was a beautiful girl. She was smart. She was caring and loving and all these things, but she wasn't right for me. And to break up with her, and like my family loved her. Everyone thought she was so great. It seemed like I had this like idyllic life. And so people were like, wow, Brad, that's crazy. Are you sure you did the right thing? And I'm like, I don't know. You know,
I
I
have
had
no
to I
idea.
had to
Yeah.
wrestle with that for so long. And so when I finally got settled here and I went through that dark night of the soul, I had to look at everything in me, all of the shame that I hadn't yet dealt with, and I had to look at it and face it on a daily basis. And it's so difficult. And it kind of put me, like, I felt like it kind of reset a lot of my just social skills because I didn't really know who I was anymore. So it was hard for me to go out and socialize with people.
Yeah.
Even though I had a past, I've been in the like men's dating stuff for like 7 years now. And I had a lot of success in California. But when I went through this recent experience, it was like a whole reset because I had to recreate my identity, right? I said I was living a life of inauthenticity. Well, I didn't know what authentic really was. So I've had to build that now in Arizona slowly on my own without input from anyone or anything that I had back in California.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been able to, watch this process that you've been going through, and I think, you left everything that you define yourself by. So you said you had an identity crisis, right? Everything you identified by, you left. You started a whole new life. And so I've been able to watch you have to deal with the process of shedding everything about who you used to be and then almost like rebuild yourself from the ground up. Where do you feel like you are in that process? Are you still doing that? What's it look like now?
So about 2 months ago, right around 2 months ago, I kind of hit rock bottom in that process where I was like, I'm nothing. I don't know anything about me. Like I got nothing. All I got is the shame and fear and guilt that's coming out of me. But once I kind of hit that rock bottom, I was like, okay, now it's just, I guess, just do what I want. And that was kind of the turning point for me where I started to live every day a little bit more intentionally. And I just asked myself, like, what do I want to do? What do I feel like doing? And the thing that really started to pull me out was dancing. I'm really into shuffle dancing for like EDM, house music stuff. And I didn't really have anything to do. I quit my job to come out here and pursue entrepreneurship and being a dating coach. But I wasn't even really pursuing that because I was going through this identity crisis and I didn't really know who I was anymore. So I was like questioning, oh, am I even a dating coach? I had all this success before and I was able to attract this amazing, beautiful fiance. But then I realized that she wasn't right for me and I broke up with her and I went through this identity crisis and I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what to do. The only thing that I knew I still really liked was music and dancing. So I just started getting back into my shuffle dancing. And through that started to come a lot of joy because I was improving my skill and I would start recording videos of me doing it, sharing them on social media. And then I went to this big shuffle dancing meetup convention in LA where that weekend is, I would say, like the big turning point for me because I was really in my element. I was feeling very social again. It was mostly women there, so just talking to tons of girls. Felt really good about myself. Was getting really good reactions from them. So I got back from there with this kind of understanding now that the only thing I need to be happy is I don't need all these old external attachments. What I need to be happy is to be true to myself and to be authentic to myself. And so then I thought to myself, what is authentic to me? So obviously I still do my shuffle dancing. I still lift weights at the gym because I love to exercise. I feel great when I exercise. But also, I love learning game. I love going out. I love talking to girls.
I love the
And I
process.
love the
I love
process.
the process.
And so, I got back and I was finally in a better place. So I hit you up and I know you were kind of going through your own little dark moment in February as well. And you were starting to feel better too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, hey, I feel like I'm ready to start going out again. And you're like, I'm ready to start going out again too. So we start going out and it felt great, right? We started slow, right? Like, hey, let's just go out for like an hour tonight, just hang out, just have fun, talk to a few people. No, no pressure. We're not trying to like pull girls or anything, just being social. So we started doing that. And then over time, we started going out a little longer, started talking to a few more people. And then that's when the recaps started happening every night, where we're talking about what we learned, what's going on, what are the social dynamics that we're learning, what are the mistakes we're making, what are the emotions we're experiencing. And then out of that came the podcast idea.
Yeah. And I think throughout that process too, I think you and I had moments where we're at very similar places, of like in a dark place and starting to kind of see the light and come out of that. And then seeing us kind of step back into pursuing improving this part of our life. And I think that because we had very reflective experiences, it really helped us to, like, we work really well as a team and we grow really well and we push each other and we hold each other accountable. And I think that that was just a really good situation for the both of us to make a lot of progress quickly.
I'll wrap up the rest of this episode. We talked about being captivating, having a good energy,
Feeling good.
And
also just about us. Maybe our next should just be about us and our story and how we got here.
A lot of this episode has been about us and how we got here, and there's a lot more for me to share. Like I've said, I've been on this journey for years, so I definitely have a lot of things to share about my past and how I got here that I think you guys will find very illuminating. If you enjoy this podcast, we'll be at you with another one next time. Till then, go talk to some girls.